What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in for another episode of True Talks. Today, I'm super excited because it's something I've been wanting to do for a while, and I found someone on board with doing it with me. So it's going to be a great episode. As you guys know, in previous episodes, we've discussed, police incidents with involving police officer shootings. We've talked about racism in America. We've just had a candid conversation about how to regard life to the highest extent, given this COVID-19 situation, and so many other discussions we've had. But more recently, you guys have noticed a change in my tone and the way in which I'm, moving forward with addressing this subject. And so today, I'm honored to have law enforcement here to discuss this with me, and hopes of this starting a whole long thing where we just evaluate stuff along the way and have open conversations. And as I expressed to him, this is an opportunity for all of us to develop a relationship directly with police officers, rather than just moving in opinions. So today I want to welcome Mr. Charles to True Talks for the first time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, no problem, man. So, hey, we're just going to have a conversation. I don't want
Let's
this to be too deep the first time around. I just want people to get to know you. So tell us where you're from, why you became a police officer, and just go from there.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'm originally from Nigeria, West Africa. And so I'm currently in Louisville, Kentucky, was raised in Louisville, Kentucky. And the birth or the desire to be a police officer was birthed out of just my experience with law enforcement in Nigeria. At the time, there was no structured law enforcement in Nigeria, Ilorin, Nigeria particularly. And so there was just a lot of corruption. So we just experienced so much injustice at the hands of the military, which was the law enforcement at the time. And the corruption looked like bribes in order to get away, or whatever that may be, and even just being mistreated. So that kind of gave birth to why I decided to put a uniform on.
Oh, cool. So have you had experience with like racial discrimination from police over there?
I wouldn't necessarily call it racial discrimination. I think it was just corruption. I think it was, just the need, but just because poverty is pervasive. And so they would take any opportunity or chance to make an extra dollar. And
Yeah, no, because I asked that because like Trevor Noah, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him or not, but he's from South Africa, and he like talked about, the way they dealt with affairs there. And it's always like interesting to see how it differs from the U.S. For me, someone who studied the apartheid, I look up to Nelson Mandela, and so like Madiba all the way. But like, I'm always like interested to know about international affairs and like comparing, contrasting them here. But that's cool, man. That's very cool. So how long have you been an officer?
3 years now.
Yeah.
3 years,
Yeah, so has it changed your perspective of people at all?
My perspective of people? No, not necessarily. I think it just changed my perspective as far as how I evaluate situations. Just understanding more now that there's always more to the story. And so I think I'm just more thorough now when it comes to just gathering all the evidence, looking at different perspectives, looking at different sides of the story before I arrive at a conclusion. So I think it just kind of slowed me down to jump into conclusions. Yeah,
cool. We're meeting at the right time because I can say I deal in both. Sometimes I evaluate things from a deeper perspective and analyzing it, going stepwise process and looking at different perspectives. I think that part of me always sticks around, but like some things like what we're experiencing now when it comes to these police shootings, our first response is our opinion, and what we see. At the end of the day, is video footage can only hide so much.
Absolutely.
And so I think right now we meet at a great time where I'm just in this spot of trying to really see different perspective. And like I said, when I wanted to address this again, I wanted to make sure I had a credible source and someone that can walk me through the ins and outs of the things I don't know and the way I should be thinking about it. And so I'm happy to have you here. So what is something that people don't know about you?
something that people don't know about me.
Yeah. That you feel comfortable sharing.
People that don't know about me. I love to read.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love to read. I always have some type of book in my hand.
Top 5 books, go.
You said what?
Top 5 books,
Top
go.
5 books,
Yeah, you're
man.
talking to a bookworm, man. I devote
Oh
one
yeah,
part
yeah,
of my
okay.
website to the
So
stuff I'm
yeah,
reading.
yeah, absolutely. So I'm a Christian. So the majority of the books I read are Christian books, and it's just centered around faith and how I can grow spiritually, whether that be in marriage, whether that be parenting, whether that just be personal life, just growing in just personal holiness. So top 5 books, my first one would probably be Practicing the Presence of God. It's a book about prayer. Just constantly be in the presence of God and praying. Another one would be probably The Mortification of Sin. It's another book about just holiness and your walk with God. Another book would be Doctrine That Dances by Dr. Robert Smith. It's a book about preaching and preaching that in a way that that the people are engaged. And it's kind of, he basically was talking about it's like music. It's like dancing with the people you're preaching to. What else?
That sounds
The
cool.
autobiography of MLK for sure. And top 5.
Yep.
Man, I gotta.
More. So good. It sounds pretty good so far.
Yeah.
Oh, you cheating?
Yeah.
Trying to gloss at a
Right,
bookshelf or something?
I'm looking at my bookshelf
Oh, I'm
right
gonna
now.
call
I'm
you
like,
out, man. I'm gonna call you out.
That's hard to pick. But yeah, those are just some that came to mind immediately.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. How do you think spirituality centers you when you see things out in the streets as an officer?
Yeah, I think it helps a lot. I think just having a what I would call a biblical worldview, it helps kind of put things in perspective. Just because you run into a lot, you see a lot, and you see things that can really plague you, and that can really mess with you mentally, as far as just dead bodies, hurt children, and things of that nature. So you see really graphic things, and I think just having a biblical worldview, just knowing like this isn't it, like there is something beyond this, and also just understanding that we live in a fallen world, so I know that this is a reality, and and we do everything we can to address those issues and speak to those issues, but also just knowing like this world will just never be a utopia. It will never be a perfect place. Yeah. And if so, there would be no need for heaven. So I think, yeah, you kind of, you have your eyes on the streets, and you have your eyes on heaven, at the same time, and just kind of you're navigating that. So yeah, so it helps out a lot. It gives you hope that this isn't it, so.
Yeah, and that can be applied to any job too, but I think it's
absolutely
critical for emergencies, even with firefighters, because in those instances, like we discussed before, like it's a matter of you responding to emergencies nonstop. It's the only 2 jobs where everything is a high risk or stressful situation, where most are running from it, you're running to it. And so it does take a great deal of character and somebody that's willing to put themselves in the line of danger, for someone else. Let me tell you, I don't have it in me, man. I don't have it in me. For a loved one, absolutely. But, just for strangers, it depends on the circumstance,
Absolutely.
Because I've had conversations with some officers I work beside as an unarmed security officer, and they share graphic details of things that they encounter, even with just gas spills and stuff, and seeing the effects of that. I'm like, it's no way. I would have PTSD, man. I couldn't. I couldn't do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. So what's one thing you enjoy doing in your spare time?
Spend time with my family. So I'm married, and we've been married almost 3 years. and
Congrats.
we have 2 children, Vea and CJ Charles Jr. So yeah, I love spending time with my family. So that's my number one go-to.
That's awesome. Did you meet
Yeah,
your wife here or overseas?
yeah. So we actually met at the University of Louisville. So we were both going to a Bible study there, and I met her there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sounds like a lengthy love story, y'all. We not
Hey,
going into details here.
Lord willing, yeah, Lord willing. So yeah,
So what'd you study at University of Louisville?
criminal justice.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
that's great. So you think it like prepared you to deal with the things you're dealing with now, or just like structurally,
Um,
academically, or what?
I think in part, yeah. I think it. The biggest thing was just it taught me how to learn. So I think yeah, just kind of learning the study habits and learning how to discipline yourself and learning how to just read credible information, and then
Yeah,
being able to yeah, just evaluate this information and news and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it helped in that regard for sure.
got you. Got you. All right, man. So how many times in a year do you have to undergo like different types of training and stuff? It's one of my required questions here for you, just to kind
Yeah.
of understand. Like, I know you're talking about educationally, how you start to develop your understanding of research and the
Mm-hmm.
process of things, but then transitioning into, less of a student and more of an officer. How do you get to that
Mm-hmm.
point?
Yeah. So you talking about like department wise, how much training do we go through like department
Yeah,
wise?
yeah.
Yeah. So we have we have a yearly in service that we go to. So all the officers in the department are required to go to this yearly in service. It's a week, and in each in service, as far as the topic or the curriculum for that week, it changes yearly.
Okay.
So one year may be on defensive tactics. There's an emphasis on defensive tactics. Another year may be on there's an emphasis on hostage negotiation or whatever it may be. So yeah, it changes yearly. So we have to go through that yearly. We also have to qualify with our firearms twice a year. So we have a spring qualification and the fall qualification, and we have to pass or we basically lose our police powers until we pass. So we have to keep
Oh
taking them
well.
until yeah. So those are kind of the trainings that we have outside of the academy or when we finish the academy.
Yeah. Now, what's one incident that you always like recall, I guess, that makes you feel like you chose the right job? Like you feel like this is exactly what I'm supposed to do. Have you had any of those types of incidents on the job?
Every day.
Yeah.
So like you said, I mean, every time you get called, it's an emergency in a sense. Even if it's a car accident,
Yeah.
someone needs you immediately. I think that's just one of the things I love about the job is that it's just so fulfilling. And I mean, and being able to help somebody in that moment is just gratifying. So I think, yeah, every time you get called, you're never getting called that you don't get called when it's time to blow out the candles at the birthday party or when the stakes are up at Texas Roadhouse. Now you get called when the birthday party gets
Yeah.
shot up,
Yeah.
or the Texas Roadhouse gets robbed. So I think you're engaging with people in a very vulnerable in vulnerable settings, in vulnerable moments. So I think, yeah, just it's a unique opportunity to just serve and love people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's every day. It's every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Now you're in
Yeah.
Louisville, man. So like the Breonna Taylor incident has happened
Yeah.
and you're still on the streets. So you're dealing
Hmm.
directly with either protesters or, people maybe lashing out. Who knows,
Yeah.
when they see you. It's the whole
Hmm.
good cop, bad cop ordeal.
Hmm.
Are you encountering that often? And if so, like, how are you dealing with it?
Yeah, I would say some of it. I think the majority of people have just wanted to talk.
Yeah.
Just seeing, just being an African American officer on the streets. Yeah, they just want to talk. They want to know, um, number one, what are you doing? How are you being intentional as far as just changing the climate of what's going on? And
Yeah.
and secondly, what do you think about what's going on? So yeah, I think I've been received well in that sense. And I've had a lot of conversations, a lot of beneficial conversations. So yeah, it's just one conversation at a time. So yeah, in general, I think the interaction has been good.
Yeah. That's awesome. Glad to hear that. Now, I've been doing some research on the
Hmm.
department,
Yeah.
and I'd love for you to kind of define some of these things that we
Hmm.
encounter when officer shootings occur, like
Yeah.
transparency reports, and you hear
Hmm.
about in Nashville we have the Community Oversight Board, which
Hmm. Hmm.
consists of citizens who've been elected to serve on this board, but again they're
Hmm.
only active when there are incidents.
Yeah.
Um, and so in Louisville, you all have the Citizens Commission that's supposed
Hmm.
to be on police accountability.
Hmm.
Accountability. So, like, how effective do you feel like having those things in place are when we're dealing with stuff like Breonna Taylor, George Floyd incident, and so on?
Yeah. Yeah. So that was just that committee is recently established, and I'm not even sure if they've fully implemented. I know there's been talks about it, but I'm not even sure if it's established as of
Yeah,
today. But I know they will be for sure. And from here on out, they will be a part of just the process as far as investigating officer involved shootings. So as far as the Citizens Committee, I'm okay with it. I think I would absolutely want police officers on that committee as well, or somebody who has more of an insight.
yeah,
So just so, because just like you said, there's dynamics to the job that people who've never done it wouldn't understand. So yeah, I absolutely. I don't think having their input as far as what it looks like and what the perception is good, but also having the input of officers to kind of just rectify, okay, this is what it really is, and this is what it's not, and also just the transparency as far as, okay, yeah, that's what it looks like, and that's what it is.
yeah.
So, so I think that's good. I think that's good in that sense.
Yeah. So that's one of the things it's safe to say you feel like would change a lot of the culture and the relationship between Black and brown community and police officers.
Having the committee,
Yeah. Or at least those
absolutely.
types of
I think
meetings. You know what I'm
for
saying?
sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's a step in the right direction for sure. Just having those conversations alone,
Yeah.
and even meeting outside of investigations. So just having just regular meetings and just having that conversation, continuing over a period of time. I think that would definitely help.
Yeah. Have you been able to go to any of like the community oriented events you all host? I know there's a lot of like precincts
Mm-hmm.
here that have annual events just to kind of relate to the community.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any that come to mind as your favorite? And if so, why?
Yeah, I have not. We haven't had like a community event in a while, just because, especially after COVID hit, that shut that
Oh,
down.
yeah.
Um, but there are a few that they would even ask to work, and and I think that's just great to interact with the community. And but yeah, there's just different ones that go down like at different parks, and it may be a community event for that particular park, particular neighborhood. And so yeah, we would always stop by and just kind of chop it up with people, interact with people. But yeah, we haven't had one that I can remember in a while,
Yeah.
within the past year. Yeah. And we
Yeah.
have a unit. It's called Community Policing Unit, and their main job is to go to those events and interact with people.
Got you. But yeah, hopefully we can get back to a place of normalcy. It's
Hmm.
COVID. It's pretty strange, man.
Absolutely.
It's making us realize things about ourselves maybe we wouldn't have had time to
Yeah.
realize.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
making us be more intentional for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
speaking of which, do you have anything that makes you bored? Because that's a popular conversation right now, and so many people don't know what to do with themselves. Have you
Yeah.
found yourself bored or no?
No, it's been a pretty busy season.
Yeah.
So even with COVID, I think because we're still going to work, so nothing shut down for us, So I think
Wait
when
a
everything,
minute. Wait, I should ask your wife this question. Okay.
right? Yeah, yeah. So I'm sure. Yeah, she's had more time on her hands for sure. So she's just
Yeah.
been hanging out with the kids, but yeah, going in. We've still been as busy as usual. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's not much has changed.
Man, it hit me like a ton of bricks a day or two ago, and I made a video about it on Facebook. I was like,
Mm,
me and my mom actually, I was like, I've never been the type to get bored, But right now, I don't know if it's boredom or just longing for another person to like connect with, friends or whatever. My mom was like, I'm right here. I'm like, no, someone outside of my
Yeah, somebody else,
household.
right,
I don't
yeah,
even like company like that, but if I could just have entertainment for a split second, I think I'd be good. So
absolutely.
well, yeah, man, I'm not going to hold you too much longer. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
this is less than the normal amount of time that you guys are typically used to with my podcast episodes, that's perfectly fine for this one. This is just a opportunity for us to get to meet each other face to face. We don't know each other like at
Yeah,
all, guys.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And for you all to get to know them and like hear them out. Is there anything else you'd like to either contribute about yourself or ask me?
Nah, nothing that comes to mind. I'm
No.
sure in 5 minutes from now I'm gonna think of something, but yeah, nothing that comes to mind right now.
All right, man. Hey,
Yeah.
y'all got it. I asked them. Look, I asked them. I'm kidding. Yeah. All right, man. Well, I'm not gonna hold you long. I appreciate this conversation. I think it was a
Yeah.
great start. And again, kudos for you being down to do this with me.
Mm,
And let's move forward. I hope you
absolutely.
guys come back here for another episode. We'll try to release these every month.
Mm.
And yeah, hit me up with your questions. And do you want to plug a social media or anything?
Yeah, my social media is Charles Andrew, Facebook. That's all I got. Yeah, so
All right. Hey,
yeah,
ain't nothing wrong with that. Keep it
yeah,
simple, man. You know
yeah.
what I know? You split up that audience. They get to go in places and they hard to find sometimes. So, all right, y'all. Like I always leave y'all, find me everywhere at Urban Thread 615 and be blessed in every day that God gives you. Your life is full of purpose. Until next time, deuces.